personally, I have to say, as someone who covered the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, not since Amber Heard have I seen someone so publicly criticized and derided and lampooned as Claudine Gay. Recently, in an article, someone asked, "Is Harvard the Bud Light of academia?" And they were referring to the fact that this giant series of controversies has sprung up around the Ivy Leagues and around Harvard and Harvard President Claudine Gay in particular. And it seems like this thing has reached like epic meme-worthy pop culture proportions. And personally, I have to say, as someone who covered the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, not since Amber Heard have I seen someone so publicly criticized and derided and lampooned as Claudine Gay. There's really something interesting going on in the culture right now. And I've talked about this on my channel a lot and on my Twitter as someone who was in academia for 20 years and as a student and a teacher and all of that. And I think that there are a lot of deep issues with academia that deserve our attention, much more so than what's even being discussed right now, honestly. And I've talked about those in other videos and other posts. But I think it is really just as a pop culture, as a cultural phenomenon, and something that people are clearly really interested in or even obsessed with online. And I'm seeing it now cross over into the political realm. It's not just people talking about academia; it's people talking about this from other political points of view, and people complaining about or talking about the fact that Barack Obama apparently stepped in at Harvard and applied pressure for Claudine Gay to be retained. And like I said, I'm not even interested in particular in Claudine Gay. I'm really interested in what this whole phenomenon is signaling about where our society is at on academia. And I think what's happened here, and I think it was very similar in a way to what happened with the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial, is that you have for years and years and years a kind of underlying resentment simmering among lots of people from various political persuasions and walks of life, but a great seething, simmering resentment of academia because people have known for a long time that universities have big problems and long-standing problems. And so you've had this seething resentment, this concern, this simmering concern, and yet people felt like these institutions like Harvard and these universities were too big, their endowments were too big. What's the point in criticizing them? We can't reform them. What's the point? They're huge. They're these giant cultural, monoliths. What are we going to do? We can't do anything. What's the point? But what's happened now is that people see that the emperor doesn't have clothes and that they can criticize these institutions and figures like Claudine Gay, and they can be heard. And I think the same thing happened with Me Too and the Johnny Depp situation, is that you had, in the wake of Me Too, you had this growing resentment and this growing dissatisfaction among a lot of people who felt like in a number of ways Me Too went too far, or it empowered a number of women to lie or to commit hoaxes, like the hoax, for instance, that Amber Heard tried to perpetrate with Johnny Depp and his reputation, and trying to increase her political credentials by writing an op-ed in the Washington Post about him and becoming this big activist based on a lie. Well, people who had had enough of Me Too and the excesses of Me Too, they jumped on that. A lot of us jumped on that as a way of saying, see, we told you there was a problem here. We knew there was a problem here, and now you see. Here it is. Here is a case study. The Amber Heard and Johnny Depp situation was a case study in a Me Too type hoax, in false allegations by women. And it was there for everyone to see, and no one except the most obtuse or the most stubborn could deny it. Well, that's what we have now with this growing controversy over Harvard's president, is that there are a lot of people who have had a lot of rightful concern and even resentment, and they haven't felt empowered to speak up about it, and now they feel like they can, and it's opened the floodgates. And so Claudine Gay and Harvard, they truly have become symbols for this much larger dissatisfaction with academia and critique of academia. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that people should be looking at that's not even on most people's radars. And I'm not even particularly interested, honestly, in the recent scandals. I'm interested in a long-standing list of problems with academia going back years and years and years that hopefully now people are finally ready to consider. And so check out my work, my YouTube, my Twitter, Colonel Kurtz99. I talk about my perspective on academia and on these things. And have a good day.